Hello folks, hope you're having a great day today. Hey, today I want to take a look at Saki's The Music on the Hill short story. It's published, I have it published in a couple places, but the version we're taking a look at right now is in this horror anthology. It has a lot of older writers like Frances Marion Crawford and Charlotte Perkins Gilman, among others. You got Poe, Stoker, de Maupassant, Robert Louis Stevenson. You get the idea. Algernon Blackwood, and so forth. But what I want to do for you today is kind of take a look at it and unpack for you The Music on the Hill. Now, this is going to be, I just recently did a story for you by Saki, from whose real name was H.H. Munro. He was a Scotsman who was born in Southeast Asia and will regularly use Southeast Asian themes. He's also a great satirist of English society. A lot of his characters, a lot of things that are happening are very much are happening with our main person. So, but what I want to do for you is kind of review Music on the Hill. This is my, now to be fair, I haven't even read 10 of the stories. But of the ones that I have read, this is my favorite of the ones that he has. And we'll take a look at probably at least another one or two. I've mentioned before that Saki is a highly regarded writer of horror and some other stories during his time, during his life. He died in World War I, about 2 or 3 years older than me, on the front lines. Yeah, he was in his 40s, but he was on the front line. He was out there doing things, and he was killed by a sniper, a German sniper, who shot him down after somebody else had a lighter, and they were lighting up something right by him. And he said, "Hey, you need to put that light out." And those were supposed to be his last words. He was shot and killed by a German sniper. And then you learn your lesson on the front lines in the trench warfare that was going on during that time. So you have, so he dies tragically in World War I. But he is also a regular. His works tend to be very satirical of British society and their Victorian society norms, which probably made sense. He was gay. Now, he didn't come out as gay. There have been some gay scandals, so he stayed really far into the closet, but this was not anybody who knew him, who his writings were, who he was, in relationships with, those sorts of things. They would know that he was gay. But it was illegal at the time, and a lot of famous writers, playwrights like Oscar Wilde, who was gay, had the local area turn against him. So he's writing against Victorian norms, but he's doing it from inside rather than sort of this gay effect character guy from writing from outside. Just as an FYI. Now, he goes by the pen name Saki, S-A-K-I. I might be mispronouncing that. It could be Saki or Saki rather than Saki. I'm assuming it's pronounced Saki, but that is totally an assumption on my part. It's a made-up name, so what do I know? Nobody knows where it came from. There are a lot of guesses as to where it may have came from, but anyway, I'll leave you to that. But what I want to do is take a look at his Music on a Hill. So what's going to be happening in this story, and one of the reasons why you will regularly come across a Saki story is not only is it well written, it's short. His short stories tend to be very, very short. I did a review for you of one that was 5 pages long in an anthology that had hundreds of short stories and hundreds of pages in it. Today I'm going to be reading through one that's 6 pages long in this collection. And you will regularly see them in horror anthologies. First of all, the story's not going to be embarrassed by being around others, right? It definitely has a strong writing style, sense of itself. But secondly, it gives you enough space to have the other stories in there. So you can toss a Saki story. So if you've got 200 pages long in your horror collection, you can toss a Saki story in there, and that's 6 of your pages, and you still have most of your horror collection for other writers. If you do that with some other writers here and there, you can wind up with a bulkier collection, right? So you'll regularly find him anthologized because of how fast a reader he is, because of that reason. So anyway, we'll take a look at Music on the Hill, which I've read twice. So what's happening in this, and I reread it this morning for a little bit, just to remind me of the story. So your main character is Sylvia, and she is a woman. Now, she has just recently married Mortimer, who has been called Dead Mortimer in the press because he's this really strong boxer. And he definitely doesn't like women at all. I think maybe I think that might be a code because Saki was gay, that maybe Mortimer's gay, or maybe he's just asexual. Or something like that, but he's not interested in women at all. But so he doesn't have a high opinion of them. He's really sort of focused with his work as a boxer. He's a boxer. That's his passion. That's his trade. Even his mother will tell Sylvia, our point of view character, not to that this guy recommend against it, but she does, and they get married. Then afterwards, she wants to move to the countryside. And again, she's warned off by the mother, who says he's going to resist you until the end of his dying days. But as soon as he commits, he'll be on your side for the rest. He'll be in it, in it to win it, if you will. That's not the phrase that Saki uses, but sure, whatever. You get the idea. Once he does it, he'll commit. Just like with marriage, once he does it, he'll commit. Once he agrees, but it's going to be hard. But once you get him to do it, I mean, he's going to be against it. He's going to be against it. But then once he does, he's in it. Right, and he's gonna do everything he can to make it successful. So eventually they move out into the countryside, and they are in this villa that's right near some local trees, local gardens, hills that are there, some of this lush countryside that she loves, in this sort of storied sort of area and region of the town that they live in. While she's there, there's going to be some playing of some music in the hills, in the nearby areas, and in the broken hills that are right there by her. And she's going to be entranced by it. She's going to follow it along. And she's going to find that there are these sort of impressions of Pan. Local people attribute that this area is part of Pan, the god, if you will, or character from Greek mythology. And she sees some signs of Pan being there. She dismisses it out of hand. She doesn't believe that Pan exists. She's a Christian, although not a devout one. She is mentioned as somebody who goes to church and believes in a devotional sort of way, but she doesn't have any sort of room for Pan in her belief system, if you will, from the locals. Her husband also warns her off of it too, and says you need to respect Pan here. You don't disrespect Pan in his temple, in his house. One day she'll go off. While she's out, she'll come across and see this person who looks like Pan. She'll start to follow him. This little singing boy. She'll follow the boy. While she's out, she'll come across this shrine and altar to Pan. She'll see that somebody locally had put some things on there, like some grapes, on the shrine, and she thinks that's particularly gross and revolting. So she removes it and tosses them away. So, because she doesn't believe that people should be donating things to this shrine of a god that clearly doesn't exist. And she heads back. After she tells her husband this, her husband will scold her and say it was not wise for you to do that. And I'll stop there. Again, it's actually probably more like 3 pages in a 6 page, but you get the idea. It may be a little over half, but that's fine. It's a short story. Obviously, what's going to end up happening is that when it's a common horror trope, right? When you diss the local people, the local culture to their own, you do it to your own detriment, right? The local people know this place more than the people who just moved into it. I don't know why anybody would never know that. It's not only a horror trope; it's just a trope. I mean, come on now. If I move into a new job on the first day of the job, I don't say, okay, folks, now here's how it's going to be. I'm going to make all these sweeping changes. I don't know what that's going to work for this particular company, this particular brand, this particular, I work at a lot of different schools and college campuses. I'm not going to say, hey, here's what's going to work for this campus without knowing. I'm not going to make all these changes, right? Because, I don't know if that's going to work here or not, right? Similarly, I don't know if it's going to work at other places too, right? People who move to new places, why are they always assuming that they know it better than the people who live there? It's just kind of silly to me, but anyway. And sometimes they'll be lionized by the writer, and sometimes they'll be villainized by the writer. Sometimes they'll be like, all these idiot, superstitious people, I know it all, and they'll be praised by the locals. Rats Against Lenigan by Stevenson's a good example of that, where a local European sharecropper who dismisses all the local superstitions is considered almost like a cult of personality by the local people for getting rid of all that silly superstition that they all had about the local areas. And when everybody else flees at an ant invasion, they stay behind because their master, this Leningrad, stays behind, and he inspires them to ignore what people are telling them, to ignore them all, just stay with the science. And for that he's praised. But in most stories, that would be, hey, why are you dismissing, in horror, why are you dismissing the local people? You dismiss the local people at your peril. They know this place better than you do. But anyway, I'll leave that to you. in the comments below for this story. But that's again, it's a trope that you're going to see from Saki events. Saki is somebody again who likes to play with these stereotypes and play against the stereotypes of the day and write against them. So you'll see that here too in his sort of embrace of Pan. You'll also see Pan mentioned in other places too by writers during this day, from The Great God Pan by Arthur Machen, who wrote roughly the same at roughly the same time, and to others. Pan's a major character in sort of British traditions during this time. But anyway, I'll leave it to you. I'll link it to you below. Let me know what you thought about it in your comments below, whether you agree or disagree. Have you read it? If you agree with my review, if you like it a lot too, or if you disagree with it, if you think it's too long, or if you think it's just trite, or whatever, I'm happy to talk with you about it more and engage you with it in the comments below. And hey, if you watched this video and you enjoyed it, please feel free to hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be so many more of these classics to follow. Typically, I do reviews for this, like for fantasy, science fiction, and horror, but I do sometimes will do stories that are more analysis than these. And then finally, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day, because if you watch this video all the way to the end, you know, we all have such busy lives and so many things happening. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's very humbling, and I appreciate that. So thanks very much, and have a good day.